Good morning, everybody. My name is Maggie Penton from Master Yourself Martial Arts in Titusville. I just wanted to say thank you all. If you've heard about our little channel on Pantsuit Politics, I just want to say, Sarah and Beth are literally the best humans in the world. And thank you guys so much for just doing this little thing to support my business as we kind of try to navigate this new normal because of COVID-19. I wanted to share something that I thought might be useful to you guys, especially if you're a parent suddenly at home with your kids. I know that we are like all in the same boat here, and I want to avoid the idea that there are some parents who are going to do this perfectly. There is no perfect here. There is no, we're all going to be doing the best we can. And I also know that there's a lot to think about. There's your 401k, your jobs, being a homeschooler all of a sudden, having to go places, your elderly friends and relatives, your immune compromised friends and relatives. It's all a lot. And just to add to that, here you go. One thing child safety is kind of my thing. So one thing that I'm kind of concerned about with all of this is that with all of these things that we normally do in person, shopping, going to school, going to church, playing sports, and so many services that your family may be used to using going online. And with so many of these services like Facebook and YouTube and Google trying to not have as many people together, the very little bit of refereeing that was happening on the internet is not happening, which can be really dangerous, especially for children. Whether it's cyberbullying, whether it's, ungood people, or not great people, kind of seeking them out and that kind of thing. So just want to tune your radar a little bit to that danger. I have some thoughts about this. I have thoughts about everything. So like I said, I think that just recognizing that maybe if you're somebody who normally really limits screen time for your kids, that may be really hard to do over the next couple of weeks, and that's okay. But I think that there are some things that we can do to, if our kids do see something that they shouldn't see online or run into somebody that they shouldn't run into online, I think one of the most important things that you can do is just to keep the communication open with your kids. I mentioned in my little parenting pep talk yesterday that having one-on-one time with each of your kids every day can be really important during this time. And I think that's still true. And that can be just a nice time to sort of check in with them. I would not ask a child, did you see anything traumatizing on the internet today? That parenting book I like a lot called Best Friends, Worst Enemies, like the Navigating the Social World of Children or something. I'll try to put a note in there what the real title of that book is. But he calls that interviewing for pain. So we don't want to be looking for bad things necessarily with our kids, but we do want to be open and be a safe person that they can talk to if they do run into something negative or bad online. Also, that just sort of reminds me of just a general rule I have with kids. This is something that I tell all the kids I work with just a basic safety thing for children, which is if somebody says to you, don't tell your parents, or this is our secret, or you'll be in trouble if you tell your parents, that's the sort of thing that they should tell you right away. And if you can just kind of make that clear to your child in a non-threatening, just a casual way, just be like, hey, if anybody ever tells you, don't tell your parents, that's something you should probably tell me right away. And the downside about that is that you may ruin a surprise party or a Christmas present. But I think just in terms of making sure that your kids know what to do if something dangerous or if they're in a bad situation, knowing that they can tell you about it is really, really important. Okay, I made some notes here, so I'm trying to open them again. So another thing I think is really useful for me is I know that there are so many resources right now that you can access online for your kids. There's so many apps. There's so many great things, museums posting things, arts people doing shows, that I got really overwhelmed really fast. And so I just have a couple apps that I let my kids use right now. We're using PBS Kids games and the PBS Kids video app, ABC Mouse. That's something that I paid for a couple months ago, but I think a lot of those kinds of things are offering free subscriptions right now. I like those things because they're not ad based. And so like if you're paying for it, or PBS, if you like, you might have to pay for PBS too, but I have a great local PBS station so that I was able to get onto that from. So those are really great ones. My daughter's school has an app. Her school system has an app that has some resources that they have licensed that I'm going to make sure that I download for them too. And that's all I'm going to use. I'm not going to just spend a lot of time finding all the apps. And if there's somebody that you trust who's like, oh, this is the app you need, I would just say use that app. Because that's hard. Now that's easy for my kids because my kids are both 7 and under. If you have an older kid who has social media accounts or plays games with friends online or something like that, one rule I try to also kind of keep in mind is that you shouldn't be video chatting with someone you don't know in real life. And that's hard because this is a great time to meet all kinds of awesome people on the internet. Like I just met all of you, so that's amazing. So I don't want to pretend that it's all bad, but for, a basic rule that I have for kids, again, is a stranger is anybody you don't know. And there are good strangers like, police officers and, people like that who you can go to if you need help. But you never want to talk to a stranger without your parents' permission. And so like if they meet somebody new online, they should just there should be a way for them to let you know, and that person needs to know that you're watching and that you're aware of what's going on. So there's just some like good habits and just kind of good like internet hygiene with your kids, no matter what age they are. Again, if you have a teenager, like, yeah, they need some privacy, they need some space, but they also need an open communication with you. And they also need to know that they can just use you as a bad guy. If they like are in a situation that's uncomfortable, like, oh man, my mom's the worst. She makes me put my phone away at 9. Be that mom, be that dad, make your kids put their phone away at 9. That's one thing we're trying to be pretty flexible in our schedule this week, but we're kind of deciding that all of our electronics need a 9 o'clock bedtime because, just because this is a lot of screens. And I think that this is a great time for us to, if you're a listener of Pantsuit Politics, to institute what Sarah talks about, that tech Shabbat. Like, we're going to need a day off from all the screens because it's just a lot of technology. So I think also just being willing to be the bad guy. You're helping your kids. You care about them. And just having some of those limits. If they're using a family computer, maybe keep the computer in like a public area, like your living room. So that everybody's not just like in their rooms alone on their own devices. I know that that's hard if you're trying to work from home. So we're not going to do this perfectly, which again, I think is just something to acknowledge with your kids. Be like, hey, we're not doing like the best thing. Or if you have to go to work still and your kids are at home, like you're just not going to be able to do this perfectly. You're not going to be able to provide perfect supervision. And I'm really sorry about that. But I do think that just, kind of laying out some ground rules and being somebody that your kids can communicate with, whatever's going on, but especially with some of those online interactions and the people they might meet online, can be really helpful. So anyway, those were just some things I was thinking about with safety online. I'm going to check real quick to make sure I didn't leave out anything, because this is something that actually keeps me up at night. I think that was it. That was all I had for today. So once again, thank you so much for subscribing to Titusville ATA here on YouTube. Some things that we're going to be doing during this COVID-19 outbreak is every weekday at 3. If we get to 1,000 subscribers, it'll be live. I'll post a little mini class that's going to be great for kids, probably like more of an 8 and under, like maybe like a 4 to 8 kind of workout, or just like a mini class with just some ideas. If you just need somebody else to tell your kids what to do for a little while, we're not going to do anything super complicated that you couldn't do at home. But I do know that it's just sometimes it's nice to have somebody else be making those decisions. And then every morning, my husband is doing just a quick workout just to get, between 5 and 15 minutes, just to kind of get your body moving in a nice, easy way. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect, but I do think that keeping your body healthy, keeping your mind strong, those are really useful things during a really uncertain time. So you guys have a great day, and thank you so much.